chat. Welcome to the UTG show.
Welcome. I saw something at the end of today's charting that I wanted to just quickly go over. And so finding confluence, right? And, comparing the chart, today's chart, to the squeeze flag and the sneeze flag. In the previous video, we kind of went over that, and we'll re-go over that really quickly later on, because structure-wise and technical-wise, they look damn near identical. Okay, and so I wanted to go over Jackie had this bat harmonic labeled out here, completing at around 2720 area. And again, if that fails to make a reaction, which I think it will produce a reaction, and I'll get to why I do think it will. But in the event that it doesn't, and it continues, then you'd look for the deep crab completion, right? Yonder, around $33. Okay, which 27 and 33 are going to be super important areas for what I'm about to talk about here. Looking at this, right, we are currently looking at the 4 hour. We are resting on the or inside the golden pocket here. We have not made a lower low, right? On price action, if we were to draw a line right here, 23.38 roughly, right? Because this low matches this low on the RSI right here, right? So we have not made a lower low candle body wise on price action. And we did make one just slightly on the RSI, giving us potential hidden bullish divergence or continuation divergence. So you would expect, right, the move to continue up so long as this continues, right? It's not confirmed yet, but the setup is there, and that's what we're kind of banking on, right? And so if this is going to continue, which I think it will for various reasons, just as we had stated before, we've been testing on the daily, the 200 moving average, staying above it. On the 4 hour, it looks like we have an impending golden cross, which is super bullish. And so as long as we keep making these higher lows on the price action, and we don't make a lower low here and make a lower low here at the same time, that's the biggest thing. It has to be both. As long as we don't get that, the chart continues to stay bullish, and we're looking for up. Specifically, we're looking for that 886 completion target for that bat harmonic. So the thing that I was looking at is, let's actually bring in both screens here, because I'll kind of show you what I was looking at here. And so if we're looking at, this is the 30-minute chart on the right side, okay? Now let's go back to, this area, which is very reminiscent of the current chart, okay? So this is what I noticed, right? I mean, even just by the eyeball test, it looks very similar. RSI looks very, very, very similar as well. You kind of have this this triple top, right? falling down, and we had that same, right, that same structure, falling down, and then it kind of consolidating in this range, and that's exactly what happened as well. However, we've noticed that we've been getting a low ADX level, waiting for an impending volatile move. And I was constantly saying in the Discord that I think the 30-minute will be the absolute key to the big pop to 27 first, right? And then hopefully 33 after that. But I just found it funny that looking back, the 15-minute chart did the same thing, right? You see the low ADX levels prepping for a volatile move here, and then down to the funny 10, if you want to call it that. But like even this morning's wick, right? This is the wick that we ended up nailing on weeklies this morning, just because we knew that the $24 level was being supported over and over and over again, being the 200 MA. But from a tinny perspective, I think it's hilarious that we saw that same long wick come out of the bottom Bollinger Bands as it happened right here, right during this kind of flash volatile ADX phase. I find it just hilarious, actually. So, beings for how long it has been in that area, I think that I don't think it's going to be too much longer. I think Lencho posted in the Discord that today's candle was a piercing bullish candle, and so I think that the game plan is that if this enters anywhere, right, kind of in this zone, I think I'm gonna buy every dip that I can. Hopefully that it does make some sort of dip, so I can buy that. And so let's go back to the single screen here. So in the past, right, we saw, especially as Wyckoff, suggests in a reaccumulation pattern, you see the break of structure, right? Find resistance, probably look left. You'll probably find where that was. It rejected, and then it came back and actually back tests what was once resistance, trying to turn support. You saw it hit a bottom, actually made a double bottom to retest twice for buyers to step in. Buyers said yes, and then sent it, right? And so I think that makes sense in today's price chart, where if we're sitting at this $25 level that we've been having a hard time breaking, we break out of that low ADX, hit our bat target, hopefully around 27 bucks. And then I would expect actually a fairly quick sell-off to retest the prior highs that we had just broken through. And I would use that as a support base for any longer-term calls or shares or whatever else. I think this is super feasible. And then, maybe in the future we can discuss, maybe this next move up, and maybe that's your 32, 33, 35, 38, 40, whatever it ends up being, right? But we can talk about that when the chart kind of gets to that point. So let's come back to where we were here. So to add confluence to this 27 area being heavy resistance, We know that that is a, which time frame was it? That was a pretty heavy demand zone, or supply zone, sorry. And we can see even on the 1 hour chart, look how big this one is up here, up at that 28, 28 to $29 is going to be super, super tough to get through. Anyways, I believe there was a pretty heavy resistance zone here that I wanted to. There it is. Yep. So you have a massive supply zone up here, right? Um, this is huge, and like I said earlier in my previous video, that in this zone there are a ton of open limit orders set for sellers. That as soon as we were to touch that, they're immediately going to try and soak all of the buyers up, and we need to as buyers be able to soak up them to continue to push it higher. We need buyers to step up in this area to soak it up and to push price higher. But upon immediate entrance of this area right here, this supply box, we have a bat completion point. We know it's a heavy supply zone. And so, therefore, I believe that once we get to that point, we will see some type of rejection and sell off. Likely, right? Kind of what we were talking about before. If we're kind of seeing this, if you want to draw a flag, or if you want to call it a flat top, whatever it is, right? But I would assume that we would get that reaction from that bat in that supply zone and come back test this. Maybe it does the same thing and you get kind of a rounding top to it out of curiosity. And this is completely predictive, but we can pull a fib here just for funsies to see where that would be. So hilariously enough, right? The looks like the top of the zone would be your 236, assuming that that immediate point of trend reversal was that back completion. So the top of that zone would be your 236 at 25.31. And just knowing that on a macro perspective, your macro, I want to say it was the 0.5 fib level was 25.40, if I'm not mistaken. So same thing. There's a lot of confluence in this area. So once you break through, hit that supply zone, I would assume a back test back to $25 area. For a chance to reload if you're doing short-term stuff or even a swing trading account. I think this is super. This is a great plan, and this is what I'm going to do in my swing account. And so I thought that was neat. I think this is a great plan every day that we're above the daily 200. We can see these longer wicks step in. Buyers are providing support every single time. Chart looks great. I don't. There's nothing wrong with it. It looks fantastic. I mean, we knew, and I've had this written for forever. This is your Boxo resistance. We rejected it the first time, fell back in, and we finally broke out. And look where we're consolidating above it. That is super bullish, turning old resistance into support to hopefully launch us higher to that back completion. Likely see a reaction off of that for a chance to reload at that $25 spot to then maybe take a second go at accumulating or having the buyers absorb all of the open limit orders that the sellers has here to maybe then look at that $30 plus area. And I do believe that this is all going to happen before the next fib time zone, which I have at March 12th. So I do think that we're going to, continue to go up, and maybe this just happens right away, and we go into it and we fall back, through that fib time zone. But we'll see how the chart develops in the future. But for my immediate plan, and just looking right at the smaller time frames, especially on that 30, knowing that flash is going, kind of looking at these supply zones here and demand zones. I think that anything, really, I want to say it was maybe the 5-minute that I was looking at. Yeah. So the 5-minute, this is ungodly support. Okay. That's huge. And so that level is 2383 to 2358. I do not think that we're going to get there. I don't think it's going to come down this far. I think we see up first, a lot of up first. And we know our next support is 24.25 to $24 roughly. And so this being that in the indicator again is supply and demand zones by Big Beluga. I might make my own for the Tits gang to use, but just because there's a couple things that I want to change / add. But basically, if there is anything, if we dip, really into any of this area, I think that I'm going to buy, especially tomorrow morning. If we come down and say test this zone, it's the best thing to buy in confidence, and you know where to set your stop loss just below. But there is a ton of support here, and I think the risk to reward is super, super easy. And we might not even come down. We might come down to that 55-minute 200 and potentially go up for that $27 area. And so I want to see how the first couple minutes of the chart comes. If we do get any type of move down, literally from 24.74 to $24, this entire area, I think is, I think I'm just going to try and accumulate a short-term position, just because I do think we're going to see this pop up to $26.50, $27 area, and I think it's going to happen relatively soon. Of course, none of this is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed to do anything. This is just me drawing on a chart on where potentially I think a good trade could be if it was had, and potentially the projections that I think of where it could go. But so far, on a macro perspective, everything looks really bullish. This is kind of my immediate game plan. And let's take a peek just at some of these other higher time frame charts just to see. We talked about that. Let's just see some of the things that I was looking for. Of course, we're still waiting for RSI to get in the bull zone, right? 3 big things that Jackie says. The 3 big ingredients for a spicy move is you want to see the RSI ideally above 50, but better yet, throw that into the bull zone. You want to see ADX and DMI positive in hot coffee. That's already good. Check. This is check. That looks good. Now the missing piece is volume. You can see we got this volume wedge here, and so we need to see a healthy breakout with large volume, and we need to see it supported by a wide-bodied candle. Okay, you want to see expanding volume going up out of this wedge. You want to see wide-bodied candles to support that move. That is immediately what we're looking for. Okay. And then I'm a huge fan of the 2-day chart on GME. And so tomorrow we'll conclude the 2-day candle And so I really think that once this thing goes in the bull zone, I think it's going to be a hard train to stop. I think that it'll have some pit stops along the way, but once it enters, I think it's going to cook. I really do. So that's what I'm looking for on the 2 day, and then we can talk about the weekly here. Let's turn off drawings. So weekly RSI perfect, right above 50. You have the ADX crossing the DMI negative, very bullish sign. We have broken out, right, of the flash, and we have back tested the center of the sorry, that's the 50 MA. So we back tested the 50 MA of the weekly. And we have back tested the Donchian channel, the midline of the Donchian channel, which is roughly $24. The same thing. We've tested it twice now so far. Staying above it, continues the trend, super bullish. We have a weekly red hull. Or a green hull. I was looking at the red dots here, but the red dots are starting to follow up, right, to catch up to price trending range. And so with the hull and the PSAR following up, everything here looks really bullish, and we have consolidated into the upper half, right, of the Bollinger Bands. And so there really isn't anything bearish to say on GME at this point, in my opinion. And again, the monthly, we've now overtaken the 50 as well, the back above the green hull. And we are just barely above the 20 MA, or the mid Bollinger Band line. You're starting to see those Bollinger Bands start to express a little bit, indicating that a big move is probably going to happen soon. The RSI is above the 50, kind of breaking, hopefully breaking out of this wedge. And if it can get above the EMA line here, again, I think it's a train that you can't really stop here. And so we know that volatility is coming on the smaller time frames. We know that's coming. I want to be prepared for it. I know where resistance is, right? That's going to be 27 to $30 easily. That's going to be tough to get through. There's a lot of open sellers there waiting for our orders. So I think it's a very feasible plan to maybe look to take profit at that $27 area. Look for the back test of this prior trading range high to use as support, to maybe take a second go at this and hopefully plow through it. So that's what I got. Just a quick recap of kind of what I'm looking at. If I was trading in a video game, not in real life, kind of the scenario that I would maybe go for, given the supply and demand zones that we're currently nearby, looking at some of the indicators. But yeah, that's kind of what I got. So thanks for listening.